Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Imperial Holonet. I'm JID123. Red is missing at the moment, but I have a special guest for you all. I bring to you a amaxaminamilist from the Star Wars Jedi Council forums, who I have just met as of recent. Say hello, everybody. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes,
Oh, alright.
I
And today, we are going to do with her, a Rebels Season 3 speculation video. Talk about all the stuff that we have seen, see what we want to see, what we hope to see, etc., etc. And, Maximilian, since you're our special guest, how about you go first? What are your overall thoughts so far of all the previews and trailers and such?
I definitely did watch the trailer. Who's at when I followed the Star Wars Celebration thing, and whoa, that's a lot of heavy stuff going on. So what we know from the direction it's going, we know Ezra is veering into a dangerous dance with the dark side,
Right.
and we have this narrative question of whether Kanan can pull Ezra through, or if Ezra doesn't have the guy, because it doesn't seem that Ezra will always have the guidance of Kanan. It's been foreshadowed that Kanan will learn to let Ezra be on his own. So, will Ezra have the aptitude to actually resist the dark side? Or, as many people are wondering, will Ezra find a compromise between the dark and the light side in a way that might make him akin to what people call gray Jedi?
Right. The concept of Grey Jedi isn't new necessarily. Some people consider Ahsoka a Grey Jedi by.
And some people think Kanan has those traits too.
Right, let's see. According to the greatness that is Wikipedia, the term Jedi or Grey has two meanings. First, it was used by Jedi or Sith to describe a Force user who walked the line between light and dark. That seems obvious. It's also described a Jedi who distanced himself from the Jedi High Council and operated outside the structure of the Jedi Code. Seems pretty. Oh, sorry. Yikes. Sorry about that. Darned ads. But yeah, that's definitely interesting. What have you been your thoughts on the previous two seasons we've got so far? And are you a fan of TCW 2008 to 14?
Actually, yeah, I am a fan of the Clone Wars series, but let me talk about my experience first with the show.
Okay.
I knew TCW had been existing for quite some time. I just didn't really was not too interested, and honestly, I kind of started on the season one in 2015, in fact.
Hmm.
And it was not because I was too interested. It was honestly for completionist purposes as a Star Wars, because my interest in Star Wars was reviving by the time The Force Awakens was looming closer.
That definitely happens to a lot of us.
Yes, and so that was kind of like a way of reconnecting with the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of grew, for all its flaws, I grew to really appreciate the Clone Wars at its best when it was being mature,
Oh yeah, season
introspective
three.
about the Force,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, even giving Darth Maul some development and letting certain characters shine.
Right, season 3 through 5. Well, season 6 actually too. I think are its best moments, especially animation wise.
Yes, but honestly, I think officially it was actually Star Wars Rebels. I kind of watched first,
Okay, that's fair. Um,
in a way, and it was actually in its second season when I tuned in, and I didn't watch it consecutively too. I just jumped into the second season accidentally.
okay. And your thoughts? Just
My
oh,
thoughts. And I know Dave Filoni worked on Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think it's a pretty overall decent show. Like, it has its shortcomings, but I appreciate the overall skill, and while it definitely does at least offer a, a fairly decent war narrative as a show that's aimed towards a family demographic. And
oh,
it breaks down some concepts pretty well for me
oh,
that
like
adults and kids can relate to.
Oh, like what exactly? Like, give an example?
So, here's the thing. Have you been on Tumblr?
No, I've never been to Tumblr.
But the most interesting response I've read, positive response I've read about Star Wars Rebels was that a lot of moms relate to this show,
That is something I've never heard of before.
or they at least written some profound things about the show in that because you know how Kanan Jarrus in Shot of Darkness he goes through this trial and he admits to himself, "You're right. All I can do is just train Ezra the best I can, but I can't always be there for him."
Right. That's
And that's a lot of parents, the moms I know on Tumblr, really related to this closely. They related to Kanan's arc about kind of being a parent figure to Ezra and how he has to find this balance between supervising this kid, this apprentice, and also letting go.
Huh, yeah, that's definitely right. For me, I guess I started Rebels when it first came out because I had been watching Clone Wars at the time too. I think I like Clone Wars more overall. I don't know, it just got especially when it got really good. Ooh, when it got really good, it got really good. Um, but I think Rebels has just been fun. I've heard people complain that it's not as mature as it probably should be regarding Star Wars.
Yeah, I think that's a bit unfair. Look, it's important to compare it to Clone Wars in terms of like discussing things and quality, but I think it's a bit unfair to kind of demand more mature stuff out of it. But do I think it needs maturity? Oh, absolutely, yes. I want to see more of it. But I think people who say that also kind of forget that it could it could keep its lighthearted spirit too. It could make a fair compromise between it.
Hmm,
And that I do think Rebels in this first season kind of struggle veering between lightheartedness and seriousness.
I agree
But
with
I will
that.
say it's starting to lean more. It's starting to ascend more towards that seriousness, towards what I think is a consistent, deserved greatness that the show could shoot for.
I agree with that too. I think season three, especially based by the trailers and some of the clips we've seen, definitely are starting to lean towards that maturity a little bit more. I've always kind of liked the characters. I like the characters a lot. I think I like Kanan quite a bit.
Kanan is my favorite EU Jedi currently.
Interesting. I know some people like Kane. But I know a lot of people love Sabine. That's a fan favorite among them.
I admit, I kind of think Sabine gets shafted aside when it comes to character development. Like, she seems to be perhaps the least developed character of the Ghost crew.
Hera,
So,
Hera.
yeah, because, but where it's going, I'm looking forward to see what they do with Sabine and the Mandalore plot.
Oh yeah, I think Sabine can get some love this season. Let's see what else. What else? What else? Um, Villains have always been kind of hit and miss. I think Callus has some stuff going on with him that probably could be interesting. I like the first Inquisitor, the Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah, let's talk about the Inquisitors and the very mixed reception they tend to get.
Um, I like the for Grand Inquisitor. I thought he was pretty okay. What do you think? Did they kill him off too early? Maybe not. Maybe so.
I questions on the board, and I know what you're referring to. So because I had a very skewed experience with the Star Wars Rebels, I knew Inquisitors were coming at some point. I knew because I came in the second season knowing about fifth brother and seventh sister, but I knew there was a first Inquisitor, and so I watched the episodes in the first season, and what did I think
Mhm.
when the moment he entered in the fourth episode in Rise of the Old Masters, which I think was where the show really took off right there.
I agree with that. That was actually a pretty good episode.
Yes, and where we kind of learn about Kanan trying to come to terms with his own shortcomings.
Hmm.
The Grand Inquisitor felt relevant from the start. He was mocking Kanan about not being a good teacher, not being a good student, and it felt like there was a sort of point to it.
Right.
And from then on, there was a kind of game of wits going on where they had to outsmart the Inquisitor throughout, and whenever the Inquisitor was hearing, it was always kind of pertaining to the advancement and development where Ezra finally learns to tame the Minarch. Wait, what? Those creatures?
Yeah, I think they're Minarch. I think it was Minarch.
But the one that was pretty crucial too is that the Grand Inquisitor mocks Kanan for not even telling Ezra about the dark side. And guess what happens later?
He learns about the dark side.
Well, he learns about the dark side trying to defeat the Inquisitor.
Right.
And I thought to conclusively end season 1, I thought it was okay. I thought it was fairly appropriate that Kanan did defeat the Inquisitor in that way. And I think it was thematically relevant too that once that Inquisitor gets dealt with, then another force, a bigger force, would come in. In that case, it was Vader who walked into the plot.
Right, and this is where I think season 2 kind of stumbles for me and other people I've talked to, is that I feel like we get Vader in the premiere. We see Siege of Lothal. You've seen that, right?
Yes.
Okay, we get him. He's great, Vader. But then we don't see him again, and we get these two guys, the Seventh Sister and the Fifth Brother, and they feel a bit of a downgrade to me. I don't know. I feel like
it's strange because if there's two of them, that sounds like there's a setup right there for a threat. An example of how the setup could work, because we remember when Kanan realizes freaking more Inquisitors, and you can see he has a very momentary breakdown over this revelation.
Right.
And doesn't come off we don't feel like the true danger of those Inquisitors much, and we don't feel get that much games of outwitting them as much.
No.
And people didn't tend to like Fifth Brother because he was a pretty generic standard guy, but people kind of enjoyed Seventh Sister a bit more because she played psychologically.
I think she had I think she had good potential. I just don't think it personally came out all the way through.
And the thing is that, okay, because you got a fair setup, you got two different bad guys in a working relationship.
Right, that's interesting.
Entertaining and both interesting. There's a dynamic you could do here, and it's not that there was an absence of that dynamic. Sometimes you see them competing with each other, but it wasn't as fleshed out.
Exactly. That's definitely a big problem, and I think season 2 suffered a little bit from a lack of a threat and a strong story arc that, I'm not asking the episodes to be arcy, 4-parters.
I know.
I mean,
but it kind of was a bit uneven in pacing it.
Yeah, that's definitely the problem too. And there were a few moments in season 2 that I felt that kind of were solved a little too quickly. There was a character introduced in the half season of season 2, the governor of Lothal, the previous one. They were played by Corey.
No. I think you're confusing it with someone else. Oh wait, the ex-governor of Lothal. Oh.
Yeah, that guy.
Where he was the news about the fate of Ezra's parents.
Yeah, and they built him up pretty big in the trailer, and then he just kind of goes away at the end, and we never hear from him again.
Yeah. That
was the problem for me. What else? Oh, I wish I had.
Here's something I could say too.
What?
Can we get back to the subject of the Inquisitors?
Sure.
People pointed out that Eighth Brother, yeah, that's the Inquisitor's name, at the very end. People tend to be, yeah, he didn't get a lot of development. He was a more disposable Inquisitor. Right. And that's okay, because it was a different dynamic. He was hunting down a different target rather than the main characters. But the thing was, I actually thought Eighth Brother had a lot more character than Fifth Brother and Seventh Sister, because I don't think this was intentional. I don't think it's substantial enough evidence to support, but Eighth Brother sounded like there was a teenager inside that helmet. And so this question comes on, and I ask, whoa, how did a teenager get into this?
That would be interesting if they If they built more on that, I think.
Yeah, 'cause he had interesting mannerisms. He did at least had mannerisms to him, like the impulsiveness when he goes out. And arguably one of the better Inquisitors moment is when they send, where he's the one who impulsively goes off to do his thing, but the other Inquisitors let him do it, so he let him go to the front line so he can do the dirty work for him. And that's kind of that competition dynamic I wanted to see more of.
Yeah, I would love to see that. I would love to see that in season 2 as well. Yeah, it's strange how people don't like season 1, but they like season 2. I've met people who like season 2, but don't like season 1.
Pretty mixed, yeah.
I know. I've always felt that season 1 strangely feels stronger to me, especially those last 3 episodes when Tarkin showed up. Like, to me, those were my favorite episodes when Tarkin showed up. Like, that's when I felt the show was like we were building some momentum. And then Siege of Lothal happened, and I liked that episode a lot.
Yeah, okay, so I think season 1 had the most consistency to it, but I do think season 2 is responsible for providing a lot of the strongest moments in the series.
Yeah, I definitely Twilight the Apprentice. That's definitely was my favorite. I also know what my favorite episode was. My favorite episode of that season was, what is it? It's the one where Ezra talking to Yoda.
Oh yes, it's Shroud of Darkness, where they visit the Lothal temple.
That was really.
By the way, let's talk about the Lothal. Yeah.
That was a really good one. I felt that was probably the best one of the season.
And I think because it had those Dagobah cave moments too, where they go through these psychological battles.
Right.
And Kanan's, and this is why Kanan is my favorite Jedi. I'm really into his story arc too. And the fact, oh god, when he gets knighted, wow, that gave me goosebumps. And he gets knighted by the image of the Force he was trying to defeat, because we see the Grand Inquisitor, and what that image means is that anyone is susceptible to the dark side, even Kanan.
Oh yeah. Speaking of Kanan, I'm curious, since you're on the Star Wars forums, you're probably going to hear this a lot, so get ready for some debating. Do you know about Rom Koda?
Yes, I do. I'm not intimate with the games, but I definitely have heard of Rom Koda, the Jedi who is blind, and yes, what I recently know from him is that, yeah, he trained a young Star Killer and in the old expanded universe, and while people definitely did bring up the comparisons, according to Freddie Prinze Jr., it wasn't exactly Ram Koda that inspired Kanan, but rather it was the source that inspired Ram Koda. It was the Zatachi Japanese icon.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's where a lot of these characters come from, or inspired by something. I just wanted to know if you wanted to address that, since he's your favorite Jedi. But I think this season, hopefully, we're going to get a better... I want 2 big things from this season. I want a very strong story arc. Like, not necessarily arc episodes, but if you have to have individual episodes, like, have a good, consistent, straight line of what you're trying to achieve here. And really strong threats. And if Thrawn is the threat, I want him to be a threat. Show him as the great tactician. Just don't say he's the great tactician. Show it. What are you looking forward to in season 3 with Thrawn in particular, or the threats?
Let's kind of see what they do with this guy. Like, how does he strategize? He's built up. We can talk about him, but okay, let's see the strategy play out. And the thing is, there's a curious frame in the trailer where he's looking at stuff related to the Rebels crew, and there's something that intrigued me. Yeah, we even see a portrait of Hera, a young Hera, and her parents.
Mm-hmm.
We see as a picture of Ezra when he enrolled in the Empire Academy for undercover reasons.
Oh yeah, I remember that episode.
And also we But on the background, we notice there's a Jedi temple guard now.
That's right. That's right. Oh,
That's strange because how would Thrawn know that this was relevant to Kanan's life unless that was he was studying the Grand Inquisitor, and the Grand Inquisitor was a Jedi temple guard, so he was using the mask as a kind of means to examine Kanan's dynamic with the Grand Inquisitor.
yeah, that's definitely weird. Like, how could he see through a dream? Uh, that's sorry about that noise out there.
And my personal guess is that, well, you know what Kanan Jarrus's old name was, correct?
No, I forgot. Sorry.
Caleb Dumb, and I feel like Thrawn might be the first on screen to ever bring it up to show off his deduction skills. That's just a guess.
They've never brought it up in the show, really?
It's never brought up in the show. It's hinted definitely that he changed his identity, because in the first Temple episode, the vision of the Grand Inquisitor tells Ezra, oh, so that's what he called himself before Kanan Jarrus. But we never get a name.
That... Okay. I wonder if this has to do with New Dawn.
Never mentioned series. Caleb Dumb's story is more relevant to the comics.
That's right. That's right. I have to reread those Kanan comics.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, also, I want to see, like, more of the Rebel Alliance, because I feel like we don't see that enough in the show. Like, you see the growing Rebel Alliance. Like, we see the Ghost Crew, but we don't see, like, the other cells or how it all works.
Yeah, and the word is that now Hera is a more high-ranking officer in the rebellion, so it'd be interesting to see her dynamic with the Rebel Alliance and how she's leading them. Because yeah, she has commitments to the Ghost Crew too, but she now has commitments to this entirely new team of people.
Right. That's definitely something that'd be interesting to me. Let's see what else is there. Oh yeah. And because of that, like, I hope season 3 has better budget to it.
Yeah, I hope so too, because
the trailer made it look like there was an increase, or the animation just looked better. I don't know about you.
I thought it could. I mean, I think right now it's kind of found its aesthetic, for better or worse, in that it has a simplicity of imagery, but it still can provide details when needed. Like, oh my god, like the design of the Bendu, which is reminiscent of mythological Henson-like creatures.
Oh yeah, the Bendu looks awesome. And played by Tom Baker. Yay for me. Strong looks pretty good as well. I'm surprised they gave him eyes, but I guess that's a mistake thing. I don't know. This season 3 looks like it's shaping up to be better. I hope it is. I hope it's like this is where it finally gets good. I mean, really better. I mean, sorry about that. But really great. Like, I feel like with Rebels, there's always been it's an okay show. Like, it's never been horrible. Like, trust me, I've seen worse. I've seen worse things in the world. But I always felt like there's a greater show in there. It just needs, like, tighter writing and a lot of budget.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's consistently, mostly overall good, but it does have these moments of greatness that I say any animators should take cues from.
Oh yeah.
It isn't really strange with the animation, but sometimes it's the direction of the animation, or
right.
Sometimes it plays with the writing too in its most dramatic moments. Like the ending of Flight of the Apprentice, where it's done, where the last few minutes is done without dialogue. That is the visual storytelling I want to see more of.
I would agree with that. I definitely agree with that. Well, I mean, I know that it's unfair to compare to Clone Wars in terms of, storytelling. Everything has to be its own. It should always stand on its own. But Clone Wars had some very cinematic moments as well.
Yeah, and it ended in a lot of. I have to say, it ended prematurely, but it did end on a lot of grace with Yoda, with them knowing the inevitability of losing the war, but still coming to terms with what's still there to gain.
Right. Also, that episode, is it called Shroud of Darkness, the one where they meet Yoda in Rebels?
Yes.
I like that one because I feel like that's another moment of animation when Yoda shows Ezra clips from Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
Like, that's a good moment of animation right there.
And yeah, it's actually more like they use actual footage from the live action movie and they kind of edited a bit to fit it into the cartoon format. But that was a good use of medium blending.
I love it when we get to I love it when we get to use medium blending and have like show actual live action stuff and actually make it work.
And that's why we like the Temple episodes, because that's where they play with the animation.
Right. I think the Temple episodes are actually probably some of the best ones.
And yeah, I want to see more of these kind of Temple episodes. And if I'm ever gonna speculate, I don't think they're gonna like physically bring Ahsoka back, but I can imagine her at least kind of quote unquote appearing as a voice, at least.
I could see that. I can definitely see that. It's really funny. Every best Rebel episode, it has to deal with a temple. That's funny.
Oh yeah. By the way, I almost forgot to bring this up. According to speculation, do you remember where Vader he caused the discovery of the Lothar Temple again for the Empire?
Oh, that's right, because the Kyber crystals for Rogue
Yeah.
One. That's definitely probably gonna be a big one. I hope there's a good tie-in to Rebels in the movies. I feel like for season 2 we didn't really get that, and probably for obvious reasons because Force Awakens was always so secretive. But I want some really good tie-ins to Rogue One, like with Kyber crystals, to what the Rebellion's doing, how Thrawn affects the Death Star, that sort of thing.
There's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that Saw Gerrera was mentioned in the Honorable Ones episode?
That's right. I bet you will see him pop back.
Yeah, we might. And I think it's pretty relevant to bring up that very clearly in the context in Honorable One, Saw Gerrera was a very, he's one of the more dubious rebels in
Right.
that his violence against Callus's team in the past, and it's brought up again in Bloodlines too, the book about Princess Leia before The Force Awakens.
Right.
He's mentioned, and it's not in a particular flattering context either. So, and it's pretty amazing that they brought this Clone Wars characters to the live action screen.
Oh yeah, I was so pumped.
To bring this whole new dynamic to the rebellion. This guy who's an extremist, who's on your side, but you're really reluctant to pair up with him because of his methods.
Oh, agreed. Also, I'm curious what they're gonna do with Callus. I think he's Fulcrum, the Fulcrum we hear for one thing. I'm curious how he's gonna work if he becomes a good guy. Like, what makes him switch.
Yeah, that's a curious point, and it seems like plenty of time has passed between the gap between season 2 and season 3, and where he might have thought over things about it, where he's now finally asking the uncomfortable truths. Like he's now come to terms with what his loyalty to the Empire means for the role he thought he was fixing.
Right.
And I think it's what I hope how they handle this Fulcrum plot was that they don't be too obvious about the big reveal or really downplay it.
Right.
Because I think people, if that is so, people have it figured out by then. Like, I guess a directional choice could be maybe just the image of maybe Zeb getting a strange package, and in the package you see the glowing rock we remember from Honorable Ones, and that's a visual cue that confirms what we already know, but it's still punctuated by the visual too.
Right.
Too obvious about it, but do it in a way that feels appropriate.
Oh,
Thematic.
I agree. I agree. I'm just like, but I don't want Callus's. I know there's been time switch, but I don't want Callus to seem like I'm a good guy now, even though I was a bad guy for most of season one.
It's honestly a bit more complicated than that. It's but maybe because he's on the Empire side, he might still believe in the Empire, but it's kind of engaging in these actions because he thinks it's the right things. Because it seems like it wasn't the like in the trailer we saw that there were some Imperial cadets that wanted to defect.
Right.
He may have been doing it because out of respect for the cadet's choice, not because he's really against the Empire.
That's possible. That's possible. I guess we'll have to see. Um, I guess one of the last things we could talk about is: do you think any of the characters don't make it out this season? That was a big thing season two that never happened.
Dash, have you seen the video of Dash though?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I've seen dashes.
He brought up the possibility of Hera dying because we know there is going to be that point where she meets Thrawn because we've seen that frame, that scary frame.
Right. I can't wait to see that frame so far.
Yeah, let's see how that comes up. But so do I think Hera? Honestly, I hope not, and I don't. While I do want to feel like the characters are in danger, I don't think killing her is the way to go about it, honestly, because, well, for one, I do think she's thematically relevant to the development of the characters and a lot of the themes about hope and loyalty to a cause. And also, too, it's bridging the female character trope where you just make them disposable for another character's story arc.
Right.
But here's what I think will happen.
Mhm.
You remember how in season 1, Hera, under orders from Fulcrum, she reluctantly follows orders to leave Kanan behind to the Imperials because at the time there was no real legitimate solution until Ezra found one out. You remember that?
Right. Right.
What if when she's captured, the exact same situation happens, and Kanan, at least until they find a solution, they don't go rescuing her right away because of the danger with the rebellion, because they know Thrawn is he's a master outwitter.
Right. That would be interesting. I'm
So
curious.
that would be, yes.
I was curious if they would kill off Cham Syndulla. He seems like someone they could kill off. I mean, he appeared in a book. He actually appeared in one of the novels.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. I haven't read it yet.
I think they could probably kill him. I think he might be. I mean, they're bringing him back, and he's gonna have an encounter with Ron. I hope they show.
Yeah, it seems so. Like we might get to know a bit more about Ryloff's history, and it seems relevant that Thrawn is studying Cham Syndulla.
Right. I hope they show that battle. Like that's one of those things about showing and not telling. Like
it seems like they are. I mean, we saw them in battle in.
right. So I hope they show that. And I know that season 2 had a lot of what people accused of filler episodes. Like I hope all the episodes have like some meaning to them in a grander scheme. But that goes back to the whole a stronger cohesive arc.
Yeah. So I'm glad Ryloff is coming back into the picture in a way.
I hope we see the planet. Like, I would love to see the planet. That's something I want to see, especially if they get more budget. Like, I hope every season they get a little more budget now.
Yeah.
Because we haven't really seen, apart from Lothal and a few other, the Concord Dawn, we haven't seen, like, a planet. Oh, we haven't seen planets. They just haven't seen, like, big cities. Or, except for Lothal, of course, because that was the one they were focusing on.
Yeah, and Geralt, and yeah, in the Clone Wars, it was like millions of dollars put to every episode because George Lucas was at the executive helm at it, and
Well,
now
obviously.
kind of on, and now they're kind of on their own with this one, with Disney being the provider.
Right. That's kind of sad, but what can you do? So yeah, that's all I can honestly think of. I'm curious if they'll kill off Maul by the end of this, as well.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he has a very interesting arc about this very. He's a Force user who's now operating outside of the Sith Jedi binary, and kind of like a foil to Ahsoka, who's not Jedi but a light side wielder. And it seems interesting that, and like Maul, I think, he had a pretty, he had a strangely, what I thought was a compelling character arc from the Clone Wars, where the motive was very simple, but you still kind of felt the intensity for his motivations did feel very substantial, in that he has lost all this power and he'll do anything to gain it back. And now in this by the timeline of Rebels, he doesn't know how to regain it, and now he's just looking for a kind of legacy,
Right.
to retain that lost power, to at least get some semblance of that lost power, some kind of peace.
Do you
In
think-
fact,
Do you think he and Thrawn might team up?
honestly, considering his hatred towards the Empire, no.
Do you think
No.
you think Kenobi will kill him off and they'll go to Tatooine?
I don't know. Right now, I don't think it's anything relevant that Kenobi should leave Tatooine.
Oh, I agree
Well-
with that. It's too close to A New Hope for him to.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see it as totally impossible that he could leave Tatooine for a while, but
I would say more Maul go to Tatooine.
okay, I don't know how that would happen though.
Well, there was that. There was a comic years ago. I don't think it was not canon. It was like one of those special What If comics.
Yeah, where Maul goes against.
Yeah, but Maul went to Tatooine. Maul was,
I might have read it long ago.
same here. I saw it online actually, and that's where they got the idea for Maul chicken legs. For the design when he came back in TCW. I mean, they like to take stuff from different sources, so I wouldn't see. I could honestly see them trying to homage that.
Yeah, but I think it's important to regard that, like, what is the more thematic outcome in the context of Rebels if Maul should perish? Like,
right,
how should he?
I think either
yeah.
Ezra kill him off, Kanan maybe in a duel, or the
Actually,
oh, sorry, you go.
I think this part is pretty crucial. We know in old concepts that Maul was originally supposed to face off Darth Vader and not win. He was supposed to die, but because it was an interesting arc going for Maul, they kept it in, and it was done. It was kind of replaced instead with the more emotionally relevant battle between Ahsoka and Darth Maul. But here's the thing: I think a battle between Maul and Vader still is possible, but I think this would take a lot of plotting. In that, I can see Ezra outwitting Maul at some point, playing the role of apprentice, because he knows Maul really wants a legacy. But, of course, because Ezra is having his dance with the dark side, he will have trouble deciding whether killing Maul, but he could possibly trick Maul into a situation that leads to Maul battling Vader.
I agree that honestly, the three people I think who should have the right to kill off Maul, maybe four, would be Vader, the Emperor himself, Kenobi, or Ezra. If you do Vader, I agree. It's going to take a lot of plotting. You have to bring him back in because I feel like this season,
Where that he's kept out of season 3.
right? And I feel like if you're going to focus on Thrawn being the villain, then I wouldn't want Vader to show up just to be like, I'm Vader. I'm here to kill off Maul because it's cool. Bye, Maul. Zap. Dead. Like, I would like some build up to that, or like, that's Maul's agenda, because the poster of the season makes Maul and Thrawn the two big bads, but
Yeah.
but they both have their own agendas. Thrawn is destroying the rebellion. Maul's doing something. I don't know what that something is.
I think that the trick would be if Ezra finds a way to persuade Maul to step outside of the shadows and put him in front of the Empire's fire.
Right. I've heard rumors the Inquisitors might come back, so that's always a possibility.
I think it's been reported that at a recent panel, in fact, that while they're not going to focus it on it now, there seems to be there might be a quiet resolution coming up later to that, but we don't say for sure. My own speculation is that, remember what happened with Ventress in the Clone Wars?
Right. I know she's actually dead because of Dark Disciples, but she became a good guy.
Yeah, I know, but here's the situation she was in.
Mhm.
Remember, why was she kicked out? Why did Sidious order Dooku to assassinate her?
Because she was coming too strong.
Coming too strong, and it seems, and there was a very clear implication that Dooku was considering her to be his own Sith apprentice when he overthrew Sidious.
Right.
So my own guess is that maybe the same case happens with the Inquisitors, and which kind of messes up the organization in that, what if they gain so much power that Sidious would order them destroyed, or to at least not stop giving funds to that organization, at least.
That means killing off, pretty much. Depending on how many there are. That could work. I don't know. Like, I'd have to see it. I'd have to see a little bit more of the Inquisitor doing a bit more though before I can buy it myself. But that could work.
Like, remember Breaking Ranks, where one of the young Imperial cadets goes undercover to find his lost sister?
That's right.
So we know in canon in spin-off books that he did canonically rescue her, but there's a clear implication that had he not rescued her, that she would have became an Inquisitor herself.
Ooh.
I wonder what had happened if they were to kind of reintroduce the Leonis siblings into the plot, and she's the one who testifies on what the Inquisitor culture is like and how it works.
Yeah, I would like to know what the Inquisitor culture is like here. That's something I feel like that we didn't get enough of in season 2. Because the season 2 was the first time we knew the Inquisitor from season 1 was the Grand Inquisitor, so he was the leader.
You know what? We don't need their backstories. We just need to get a sense of the history from the way they're acting now. Like,
well, yeah,
the Grand Inquisitor being very mysterious about his past, and there's no mention like why he turned to the dark side, but we still got into the lore, the mystery of it. But I think the real missed opportunity was in Shadow of Darkness, where the new Inquisitors were really surprised to see the late Grand Inquisitor in the image of the light side, and then you see this flash, and I was thinking, oh, are we going to see what they're seeing? Are we going to get a vision? And no, it just cuts to them reporting to Vader about the discovery, and because it looked like for a moment they seemed shaken by it and affected.
Right. Also, I just remembered that one more thing I wanted to bring up. I hope Thrawn appears in more than just the premiere and the finale. I mean, obviously I think he is, because we see him with Hera. But more like how the Grand Inquisitor, like, he showed up a little bit in the first episode. Then, I think his first real appearance was in that episode, Rise of the Old Masters, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
And then he appeared at the end of that episode with the cadets.
Oh no, as well as I thought he kind of made a cameo in that one as a hologram.
Right.
Like, yeah, I thought he was pretty well placed whenever the plot needed him. It was the other Inquisitors we were all iffy about.
Agreed. I agree with that.
Like, they suddenly are very good at tracking them? That's hilarious. We haven't seen them for, like, 5 episodes?
Right.
And we just jumped to a middle of a battle, and then them talking about it. They what? Show it to us.
Right. And that's something I want to see more of. Just a little bit more showy, don't tell. Um, definitely. And I hope, like, Thrawn has a good presence throughout.
Yeah, I'm glad he's getting a book next year, and I'm glad it's done by the same author who created it. I'm glad this author is going to be involved in the new EU.
Right. Me too. Have you read Heir to the Empire?
I finished it last week.
Or did you enjoy parts of it, at least?
I enjoyed parts of it, but I guess on the overall scale, I'm kind of more of a someone who's a literary reader of highbrow fiction, and I think it fits mostly fine in the Star Wars universe. I think as quality of books go, the writing style just doesn't do for me.
Okay, that's fair enough.
But I'm reading. I at least like it enough that I want to read the next book at least someday. But right now, I'm getting through Bloodline.
Ooh, Bloodlines. I love Bloodlines. Oh yeah. I was just reminded. Do you think Thrawn might die at the end of the season? Because he's a big character, and a lot of people like him because he's a post-Return of the Jedi character. And they can always, find a way to bring him in the post-Return of the Jedi.
I just think now he's existing in this era right now, which is interesting to me. Though whether he would die, I don't. I can see how thematically it might work out, but no. I actually hope he doesn't. I hope he kind of sticks around for a while. Like if he has to duck out of the plot, then he can duck out of the plot. But killing him, I think, strangely enough, that'd be a little too soon if he dies within the third season.
Yeah, I definitely don't.
It would be long term for a while.
I agree with that. Especially if the show gets a fourth season. Do you think it'll get a fourth season?
Oh, actually, I think there is confirmation that there was, but maybe that's real. I do think it's, but I think there has been a lot of deflecting against the notion that season 3 is the final season. So yeah, I do think the fourth season is coming, but I do think it wouldn't make that. I think what Freddie Prinze indicated that it won't make sense for Disney to cancel Star Wars Rebels so soon because and with the ratings of season 2 finale, it's doing great, and so I don't think it makes sense that it would get canceled. It looks Filoni has as much resources as he needs to at least end the story where he wants to end it. So right now, we don't know.
Right.
But it's likely not going to be the third season that's going to end.
Right, and since Thrawn's such this big bad guy among Star Wars fans, and just, he's great, and since I don't want him to die, I hope that whatever he does in the third season by the end, it has a great impact, especially if he's going to fourth season. Maybe he really gives the Rebels a what for, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think the capturing of Hera might tie into that, though I hope he does not kill Hera, not just because we like the character, but I do think she has more to contribute to the plot.
Right. I hope so too. And I think that is it.
I think this concludes our conversation, but thank you for inviting me on. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
I hope you can join me if I ever do Rebels reviews. I don't have Disney XD, so it's always hard to find the episodes. But,
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And signing off, everybody. Stay long.